Well, I'd be lying if I said it was a nice day out, but if you don't get some work done when it rains this time of year, you don't really get any work done. So here we go. So last weekend, I got the pad poured for our new cattle waterer, which is sitting in the back of the 4Runner behind me. The pad has a tube down the middle which goes about 36 inches down into the ground for the purpose of allowing the heat of the ground to come up and keep the water from freezing. This is meant to be a electric-free, frost-free cattle waterer. And seen a bunch of examples and the instructions, of course, for putting them in. They seem good, so we're going to try it. So we got the pad poured. When we poured the pad, we had to, dig way down to get that pipe in, and that meant digging a pretty big hole, which of course I don't feel like doing in this kind of mud. That's just no fun. So the tractor, thankfully, did that for me. That was very nice. I've decided really that at this point in my life, digging is for people who don't have tractors. So let the tractor do everything it can for me when I can. In either case, we got our pad poured. So to get our waterer put in, we've got our PEX line that runs up by the barn up to our water supply. And we've got to go from our PEX line to regular barbed fittings, since that's what the fitting and tubing that comes with the waterer is. So we're going to get this line taken apart. I had a valve on the end of it just so that I could make sure that it held pressure and there were no leaks in joints and stuff. So we need to get that clipped off, get this adapter put on so that we can go from PEX to barbed, and then we'll look at getting our waterer put on. We're going to cut this line off decently low because there's a tube that's included with the waterer that'll come up high, but I'm not going to make it so low that it's tough to get the PEX line on it, so we'll go right about here. That'll be fine to get the adapter on it. Yeah, and don't drop the tool down the hole. The hole is full of water, so yeah, don't do that. That's not, thankfully that's not speaking from experience. But the other problem is not letting the PEX collar that I'm putting on fall down in the hole, since it wants to. So this is going to be a little bit fun. I swear those fittings are harder to put together when it's cold. And this is a little piece of insulation that they give you. So I'm just going to stick that down over the PEX line. Assuming I can. Haha. There we go. Yeah, it's just all water down in there right now. The problem with having an open hole in the rain. But that's okay. We'll get there. All right, so I'm going to put the riser pipe that they give you right on the end right now. Just because I don't want to try to do it later when the thing's on top of it. all the way down that barbed fitting. And then we have a very lovely pipe clamp to put over that barbed fitting. So we'll get that tightened up. That should be tight enough. So here's the bottom of our waterer. I'm going to see if I can take a paper towel, clean it up a little bit. But we've got a piece of weather stripping to put around the bottom of it. So we'll get that put on, make sure it's, you know, on all the way around, etc. And then we get to lift this thing over the pipe. So the joys of weather stripping. Weather stripping. We'll take it. All right. Now, to get this thing set over top of that. And this thing's not light. It's not the heaviest thing in the world, but weighs probably about, I don't know, 20 pounds. So, it's not too bad. All right. So with that in place, the next thing we're going to do is get our holes drilled in the concrete, get this thing mounted, and then once we get it mounted, we'll deal with cutting our riser pipe down. So it says to go 2.5 inches below the line that I made as for where to cut this pipe. So that's what we're going to do. There's 2.5 right on there. That puts our line here. All right, let's get the cutter. I am going to try to just use the PEX cutter for this. It's a piece of rubber pipe. It does have some metal in it, so we're going to see how well this works. This may not work well at all, but we will see. Or it could work perfectly. Love it. It's not metal apparently, it's string in the pipe. Learn something new every day. All right. Now, they have you putting that riser pipe on and then trying to put this together. I honestly don't see how anybody could successfully do that, so I'm not going to. I am going to put this end on first, and then put the riser pipe on. And as usual, we'll test everything before I do it, just to make sure. Ain't you nice and on there? Okay. There we go. Just like to have those nice and tight. All right. Let's test fit the riser pipe before we glue it in. Just a mud mess. I am just a mud mess here. Look at that. That even fits. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's get that glued in. All right, now to glue this baby in, normally you would prime both ends and put glue all the way around both ends. But as you can see, my pipe here really wants to stay toward one side, and I don't really feel like we're trying to rig up some great system to hold it for the 5 minutes that I need to. So we're just going to put glue around most of it on that side. This thing, we'll put glue all the way around, and that'll be fine. Now to get everything primed, that's one. Let's do the other one. Let's do the bottom side. Okay. All right, let that primer dry for just a minute while I put this away, and then we'll get gluing. So you really got to make sure, especially with this one, since this is the single hole model, you got to make sure that the valve is going to be facing this left corner, because when that top comes down, there's an area there, like almost like the top of the heat well, I think, that needs to fit right over that valve, and you've got access to it so that you can adjust the valve to make the height right for the water height. So we just got to make sure that we got it in that direction when we finish this. And make sure, of course, that this hole on the pipe is in that direction where this is going to go. Let's do it. All right. Pretty confident that's in there. All right, let's get the valve put in. And very soon we're going to be able to try this thing. All right, so here is our valve. Let's get that put in. Now this is just plastic, so I don't want to crank on it too hard, but at the same time, I do want it to be tight enough to at least hold pressure. So we're trying to turn it very carefully, that last little bit, so I don't break it. bit more. There we go. Okay, I think that's it. Let's get our float put on, see if we can get this thing started up. Come on. Now the moment of truth. We're going to turn the water on and see what happens. See if it just sprays everywhere or if it goes where it's supposed to. I don't have the plug in, so this thing can't actually fill up, and that's okay because I actually want to wash it out with clean water, at least, you know, rinse the whole thing out first. So let's turn the water on and see what we get. All right. We have water. Now the question is, can I make it turn off? Look at that. It does. And let's see, looking down the pipe, we don't have anything leaking, dripping, nothing spraying in there. So yeah, looks like all our pipe joints are holding. So let's get it rinsed out. Let's get the plug put in so that it'll start holding water. That'll do. All right, and let's see how far it fills up. And the last little bit definitely slows down. All right, I'm fairly happy with that fill line for right now. So one of the neat things about this water is it uses a ball, and this ball floats in here. And when you put the top on, this ball floats into the opening so that when the cow comes in, their nose pushes that ball down and out of the way so that they can get to the water. But of course you gotta train them to do that. So there's a training bolt, and we'll talk about that in just a second when we put the top on. All right, so what I'm gonna do is spin this so that it's up, because I want that water level to actually be a bit higher than it is right now. Let's give that a try. All right, so we're gonna set the top on and see how high the ball ends up, because it's supposed to fit kind of up tight into the opening. And so there we are. Not really tight. So we're gonna reach down here and we're gonna see if we can't bring this float up a bit more. All right, so we got our ball in place. Looks pretty decent. Let's get these bolts put in, get the top bolted down, and we'll put our cover on, and we're gonna hopefully call this thing done for today. So now that we've got this thing all together, let's talk about the training bolt, which is just a 5/16 bolt. When cattle first use this, they really don't know that there's water in it, because there's nothing about a cow that says, oh, a blue ball, there's clearly water behind that. So in order to make it easier for them to find it when training them, you take this bolt, and there's a little hole in here that you put the bolt in, and we'll just screw it in if I can get it to go in, hopefully without dropping it down in there. But screw that bolt in, and that keeps the ball from closing so that the cow can come over, they can see, they can smell the water, get their nose in there, and do some drinking. Now, I'm going to take it out for right now because we actually have about a week until we're going to get cattle out here. So we'll leave that up. It'll help keep the flies and stuff out of it for now, but when we do get the cattle here, we'll put it back in. Well, that's it. We got the cattle showing up in about a week, and this has been pretty much about a year project in the works, trying to get this place ready to get cows here. So we're pretty excited to get them here. We'll try to get as much video of it as we can, and we'll see you soon.